Since it was reported a few days ago that DOJ Special Counsel Jack Smith has called Mike Pence to testify against Donald Trump before a grand jury, what we've heard from the media is endless talk about how job privilege can undermine that criminal case against Trump. Suddenly, the media has come up with their new doomsday issue of why you should be staring at your screen all day in anger and fear, because Trump is magically going away. But as usual, these stories, intentionally, get the whole story wrong. First, Pence himself is apparently the one who ran away from the media and was subpoenaed by the DOJ. He is the one spreading the news that he will use the authority of the government to fight this letter. It's a good news story for the media to use it unchecked, which is exactly why Pence released it. Everyone knows that Pence wants the DOJ to remove Trump from the board before 2024, so Pence can run for president. The idea that Pence would get involved in a court battle to protect Trump is absurd. But Pence doesn't want to be seen as someone who brings Trump down, so he has to declare that he will fight hard to protect Trump even if it helps bring Trump down. It's just obvious. Incidentally, Pence seems to be the only source of this privileged story, and given that he has a long record of being a regular liar, he cannot be treated as a reliable storyteller. In other words, the idea that Pence will use executive powers to protect Trump is absurd. It could be a lie from a known liar. If George Santos was the only source of the claim, you would think it might be false, right? Pence lies as often as Santos, but not as well. To give you an idea of what might actually happen, consider the other big stories that have come out in the past few days. Donald Trump's attorney, Evan Corcoran, testified last month before a DOJ grand jury impeaching Trump. By definition, a grand jury consists only of the prosecution's witnesses. So it's not like Corcoran is there to defend Trump. He testified against Trump. And although he apparently declined to answer some questions due to attorney-client privilege, his testimony lasted for hours, meaning he provided lengthy and meaningful answers to many other questions about the case. Trump. Think about it. Trump's own lawyer testified against him in front of a grand jury last month, and no one on Trump's side found any way to prevent that from happening. This means that all of their legal battles over this have come before Corcoran spoke. None of these legal battles have been made public, and still haven't been. But some of the legal battles involved whether the DOJ was allowed to put Corcoran on the stand against Trump, and it's clear that the DOJ won those battles. Now, let's apply the same logic to the history of executive power. Special Counsel Jack Smith and the DOJ aren't exactly rubies that expect executive powers to be obtained at some point. Why do we think the DOJ hasn't fought these laws and won? All we know is that 1, nothing has been publicly revealed about such wars, and 2, Pence says he wants to wage a holy war for sovereignty. But none of this shows in any way that the DOJ hasn't fought and won all those battles of regulatory authority. The problem now is that Jack Smith and the DOJ are very clear about the recent criminal charges against Donald Trump. Everyone is trying to keep themselves in the public eye before the charges. Most of the people trying to make this happen are famous liars, like Pence. And because many of these liars are well versed in training the media in the form of ratings-friendly lies that the media will automatically jump to, even if the DOJ refuses to talk about that kind of stupidity in one way or another, the biggest liars. This is all the people who control the news media. This means that all the selfishness that is presented in the current media should be ignored. Mike Pence wants us to believe he is somehow protecting the man he desperately wants to see in prison in 2024? Come on, that's a punch. And the same goes for anyone in the media and the pundit class trying to give you this story. At a time like this, the most important thing you can do as a political reporter is to figure out what to ignore. The closer Jack Smith and the DOJ get to impersonating Donald Trump, the more self-serving nonsense will come from anyone other than Jack Smith or the DOJ. As a general rule, if the story is from a known liar and clearly shows exactly what the known liar wants, you can remove the story entirely. The tricky part is also ignoring the endless repetition by all media of this useless story. Executive privilege is a red herring that will never really work to remove Trump. Court battles over issues like administrative jurisdiction are exactly what the DOJ has been working on all this time, despite many idiots screaming DOJ is doing nothing. Unless you want to be manipulated by Mike Pence, and a media company so hungry for an audience that it's willing to make Mike Pence a reliable source, you're going to ignore that kind of thing. Completely blind.